The reviews are in for Kirby Air Riders for the Nintendo Switch 2. We finally heard all about it. We know what people think. We've got full impressions and reviews, and I thought it'd be fun to just go over them today. I've been starting to do this thing where I go over reviews for new games that Nintendo is releasing, and I honestly just can't believe that we're already getting another Nintendo game. Like, it feels like just 2 weeks ago, Hyrule Warriors released, and that's because it did. That's right. Hyrule Warriors released 2 weeks ago, and now we're already getting Kirby Air Riders, which is just insane to me. Like, how are we getting this many games? Anyways, this is probably my most anticipated game of the year by far. I love the Kirby franchise. I never played Kirby Air Riders on the GameCube, but I've always really wanted to, and I always loved the premise of a Kirby racing game. I also just love Kirby and how cute that little guy is. I also love Marks. If you watch my main channel, I love my boy Marks. Now, okay, so let's go into these critic reviews and get started. Oh my gosh, we got a 100. That's crazy. And we got one negative. So first of all, this released at a 78. So, generally favorable. I thought it was going to score a little bit higher, maybe like mid 80s. I also want to just say that I have played this game quite a bit. And I probably, at this point, most of us have played it. There was like a test drive that you could play. You could spend as much time as you wanted in City Trial online. And then there's also 3 race modes that you could do as well, which was really good. And I really enjoyed my time with that game, with what Nintendo gave us with that little demo. And I've also played the game early at PAX West and, all that other stuff. And of course, I'm picking it up tomorrow when it releases. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited. So, although yes, I am a Kirby glazer, I think I can look at this from a level-headed perspective, and I'm just gonna take it as it is, and we're gonna look at all these reviews. We got a lot of 90s. We got a 100, couple 90s, a lot of 8s, and the lowest is a 40, which is just a crazy review from what I've seen so far. But let's start with the good stuff, and then we'll make our way down, and we'll go through any of the reviews that I recognize or I notice or something that stands out to me. So let's start with the very top one with 100, which is Siliconera, which I've never heard of. So I knew I'd like Kirby Air Riders since I enjoyed the GameCube original, but I didn't expect this game to feel stronger than Mario Kart World. Dang, that's a pretty crazy statement. And I honestly might agree with that just a little bit, but you'll have to wait for my full review to hear my opinion on that. Of course, I need the full game first to fully lock in my opinion on that. But I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna pretty much compare it. Anyways, it's so enjoyable and robust. There's room for both racers on the Switch 2, of course. But if I had to pick a favorite and never touch the other game again, I'd pick Kirby Air Riders every time. This is a perfect review. This is like their perfect game. So that's pretty cool. That's crazy. I love the confidence and the joy for this game. This might even be me. Probably not, because I already have a couple issues with it myself. But anyways, it's a really good review, saying that it's stronger than Mario Kart World, and I totally get from a game perspective that it probably is better than Mario Kart World. But anyways, let's keep going. 95 goes to Nintenderos. Kirby Air Riders lands on Nintendo Switch 2 as the comeback nobody expected, but once it's in your hands, it feels almost inevitable. Sakurai brings back the experimental essence of Kirby Air Ride and boosts it with the ambition of a modern console. More modes, more characters, more vehicles, and a flood of ideas that keep the formula alive without betraying its spirit. It's a pretty safe review. And yeah, pretty much they're saying, which I've seen a lot in these reviews, is that this is essentially just Kirby Air Ride, but just better. This is now Air Riders. You get new modes, new characters, and all that fun stuff, which is really what I've seen so many people say. It's just the same thing, but bigger and a little bit better. And if you like Kirby Air Riders, or if you like Kirby Air Ride from the GameCube, you'll most definitely like this game. We'll go down a little bit to Screen Rant. For me, Kirby Air Riders manages to stand head and shoulders above Mario Kart World as one of the definitive racing games on the Switch platform. Once again, another person saying that it's much better than Mario Kart World. Atomics. For those feeling nostalgic for the GameCube version, I promise you'll have an amazing time. It's the same concept, but executed almost to perfection. And that is the one thing about this game. It's like so perfect. Nintendo really nailed it. Or I guess I should say Sakurai really nailed the feeling of this game. It's just such a unique experience. All right, let's look at this. PC games. What a great Nintendo reviewer. PC games. Okay, here we go. Kirby Air Riders delivers vibrant, colorful racing action, fun with plenty of charm. The controls take some getting used to, but the variety of modes and presentation are impressive. That's also one thing I gotta say. The controls do take quite a bit of getting used to the point where it's like you kind of need to play the tutorial to get into it, or you're like, I heard someone say that you're gonna need to teach this game as if it's a board game. You know, when you play a board game with someone, you gotta explain it if they've never played it before. That's going to be what it feels like. Here's a pretty reputable Nintendo reviewer's Nintendo Life. Kirby Air Riders is a cracking sequel that gives solo players much more to dig into with its story campaign, whilst also bringing all new levels and shiny graphics, bells and whistles to its returning city trial, air ride, and top-down racing modes. This is a chaotic and frenzied racer, there's no doubt, but it's got depth for those who wish to learn and plenty of competition to be had both online and at harder difficulties for diehards. With lots of excellent tracks, riders and machines to unlock, set along some surprisingly deep machine customizations, Kirby's latest air riding adventure is off to a strong start. Oh, and that soundtrack. So, I mean, there's not really much here. They said something about the controls as well in their video review. Let's go down to some more negative reviews. We'll start at the 70 with, let's see. G-Finity, a chaotic, vibrant combat racer with excellent visuals and multiplayer potential, shining strongest in air ride and city trial, but stumbling slightly with uneven pacing and weaker modes. Fun, frantic, but occasionally overwhelming. Totally get that overwhelming side where, like in City Trial, if you get so many power-ups and all that stuff, it's almost impossible to control your cart, and I can see why that would be overwhelming for sure. Let's go a little bit lower to 60. Comic book, saying even with a ton of collectibles to unlock and challenges to take on, I can't see myself returning to Kirby Air Riders much in the future. This is a racer that tries to buck many of the genre's most traditional conventions, which at the very least makes it quite memorable. Ultimately though, the content on hand in Air Riders wears thin in no time, which leads to it being a game that you'll put down sooner than you might anticipate. Okay, interesting. Comic book didn't seem to like it that well. And you know what? I gotta just say right now, like, this game isn't for everyone. It's so complicated and complex in the mechanics, and it tries to not be, but it inherently is. It's very interesting how they're going about doing this, and this whole game mechanic in general. But yeah, it's not for everyone. Really, no game is for everyone, but I can see this perspective for sure. I totally get it. But the worst one is the most interesting by far. Metro Game Central gives it a absolutely horrible review. The most baffling Nintendo release in recent years, with a quasi-remake of one of GameCube's worst games that seems specifically designed to irritate and confuse would-be players. Oh my goodness. Dang, like, if we just go into this a little bit more, holy smokes, ads. Let's just read something else from their review. Kirby has always been a series aimed at younger kids and non-gamers, and we assume Sakurai is trying to make things as simple as possible for them, but it doesn't work. The fact that you're always accelerating is hugely distracting and put off every casual gamer we showed it to. And while there are technically only 2 buttons to use, one of them does 4 different things depending on the context. This is actually so valid. That is actually so valid. I had to play the game for like probably an hour straight to actually understand that those 2 buttons, or that the one button, the B button, is doing like, 3 separate things. It does the drifting, it does your copy abilities, and it does your braking and all that stuff. But yeah, I can see why this would be very difficult to comprehend for the non-gamers out there, and why it makes it a little bit more complicated. Anyone can start playing Mario Kart within seconds, especially if they turn on auto accelerate and auto steer. But with Kirby Air Riders, you're first encouraged to play an 11-step tutorial, one which doesn't explain why there's an arrow and guns slightly bobbing about in front of your character all the time. It only becomes obvious in Top Ride mode that this is meant to show you the direction and speed you're going, but if you need that in a game, it's surely a sign that something isn't right in the game design department. Wow. Oh man, these people are flaming it. But I do get the criticisms. These are actually very valid. That I haven't seen anyone point out this, obviously. Like, that's something I've said in a video before about how this definitely isn't as, you jump on and you play it like a Mario Kart, exactly. But I think once you actually start playing it and understand the mechanics, there really is something there that is fun and enjoyable for really anyone to just hop into. Now, again, I wouldn't play this with a baby. Or a new gamer necessarily. For that, I would use Mario Kart World, but you know, for my brother, which is more of a gamer, I would definitely pull that out for him. And I think we can absolutely find the fun in it after we played it for quite some time. But yeah, so this is the reviews for Kirby Air Riders. I gotta say, I thought it was going to be a little bit higher. I know I kind of already said that at the beginning, but I definitely thought it was going to be like maybe mid 80s. And I mean, that's okay. There's definitely quite a bit wrong with this, but I think this is going to be one of the best feeling games the Switch 2 has. Sakurai is an absolute Chad when it comes to making games. And not only am I excited to jump into a new Kirby game, because there hasn't been one in like so long, aside from, you know, Forgotten Land on the Switch 2, but something that's fresh feeling, even though it's a GameCube remake. I'm excited to get a new Kirby games in my hand, and I'm excited to get a new Sakurai game in my hand as well, because there's just something so unique about his games that are just so charming, and there's so much care and thought put into it. And it doesn't seem nearly as a cash grabby as something like Mario Kart. But anyways, let me know what you think about these reviews. Are you going to pick up this game when it drops? Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Do that liking and subscribing and all of that stuff. Check out the main channel and stay tuned for my review where I rank it on the Game Gauge, my way to score video games. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.